A magical sword experiment at the Tower of Fang's School of Sorcery has gone terribly wrong. As her brother Kralansalo looks on in disbelief, a young woman named Azali transforms into a monster. Next to the blade lies their master, Childman, unconscious. Once transformed into a monster like a flying dragon, Azali makes an attempt to flee the Tower of Fangs. Upon spotting the dragon, other sorcerers launch magical attacks. Kralansalo uses his Sword of Light spell to stop them, but Azali manages to flee in her new, monster form, leaving Kralansalo alone behind. 1,000 years ago, the dragons drove the Dravs from the Kiselhima continent. The phenomenon of sorcerers was brought about by human migration to the continent and the presence of dragons. 5 years after Azali's transformation, a young guy named Orphan chases the twin brothers Vulcan and Dorton because they owe him money. Since the young boys are wanted criminals, a woman from the Royal Security Police approaches them and attempts to take them into custody. The brothers are able to run away as the girl, and Orphan tries to heal the person that the girl accidentally hit. At Bagup's Inn, Orphan recalls being a member of the Tower of Fangs alongside Azali. He has dinner prepared by Bagup's son, Magic, who likewise aspires to be a sorcerer. However, Bagup is distrustful of sorcerers, particularly Orphan. Magic wishes to study from Orphan, but his father is not keen on the notion. Nonetheless, Orphan believes Magic has potential because to his ancestry and genuine desire for sorcery. The twin dwarfs interrupt Orphan's supper and claim to have a brilliant plan for making money. Vulcan has the trio dress up in order to mislead the Everlasting family's oldest daughter into marrying Orphan. Much of the village appears to have been abandoned following an incident in a nearby town. Meanwhile, at the Tower of Fangs, two sorcerers gather to exchange details of the aforementioned event. They disagree on how a sorcerer should hone their powers. They appear to be connected to Azali's terrible fate. A group of sorcerers attacks the dragon that was once known as Azali. The dragon survives and travels across the mountains to the settlement of Totokanta, fleeing Childman and his forcers. On the other hand, Vulcan attempts to marry Orphan to Maria Belle Everlasting, but she and her mother are quick to detect the boy's deception. Cleo, the younger daughter, confronts the three lads and admits she was eavesdropping the entire time. She informs them that her family is filing a police report for attempting to illegally obtain their fortune. Despite this, she enjoys their company and is impressed by Orphan's powers. She claims it makes her think of another sorcerer that visited her house. Orphan notices that the sorcerer was wearing a certain pendant. The thought occurs to him that this man was probably Childman, who is now riding into Totokanta Point 5 years ago. A different sorcerer came to give Cleo's father a magical sword to keep an eye on. The dragon strikes the Everlasting estate in an attempt to take the sword just as Orphan realizes the link. The beast corners Cleo's mother and sister within a different structure. As he rushes to assist, Orphan is taken aback to discover Azali, whom he had evidently been looking for the entire time. The chasing sorcerers notice the dragon as it flees with the magic weapon. The sorcerer attacks with magic, but Opperhen defeats a number of them with hand-to-hand fighting. Then he cancels out the magic of a whole firing squad with a single spell. He uses his strength to effectively defend Azali, astounding everyone in his path. The Tower of Fangs is a sorcerer training school located in the continent's northwestern region. The best sorcerers come from Childman's class. When Azali was still human, she foolishly released her gifted magical abilities and wrecked a training session. She kept on causing trouble Sven when told not to. Because of Azali's eccentric attitude, Childman's class developed a reputation for being troublemakers. Back in the present, Orphan awakens from a dream about Childman's classroom. He has been imprisoned alongside the dwarven twins, Vulcan and Dorton. Orphan explains that Azali is a female who helped raise him. Azali, her cousin Letitia, and little Orphan all arrived at the Tower of Fangs from the same orphanage. He says that Azali was once human before transforming into that monster, and Orphan has been looking for a means to save her. Hartia, Orphan's old buddy, frees him from his jail cell and takes him to the Continental Sorcerers Association branch in Todokanta. Hartia has been working as the secretary there since she graduated from the Tower of Fangs. She brings Orphan to meet with Childman. They haven't seen each other in 5 years, since Orphan abandoned his former name, Kralanselo, in the Tower of Fangs after Azali's funeral. 5 years ago, Orphan did not agree with everyone burying Azali even though she was still alive. They wanted to keep the Tower of Fangs from getting any stains from the incident. Orphan asks Childman what project he and Azali were working on when she turned. Childman admits that they were attempting to trigger the Sword of Baltanders. The experiment failed, changing Azali and putting Childman in a coma. Azali has also started moving now that he is awake. Childman directed Forte to deliver the Sword of Baltanders to the Everlasting family before he went into coma, as he trusts them. Orphan believes that Azali thinks that the sword can help her turn back to human, which is why she took the sword. Childman reveals that Azali can use white sorcery, which can control time and mind, and he wants skilled sorcerers to subdue her. Childman invites Orphan to join their group to defeat the monster, but Orphan refuses to harm Azali. Hartia attempts to persuade his old friend to restore his honor and rejoin the Tower of Fangs. Childman, on the other hand, says that he can trace down the Sword of Baltanders and that they plan to attack Azali tonight. Orphan packs his belongings and departs Bagup's Inn, informing Magic he might not return. He travels to the Everlasting Mansion to repair the damage made the previous day. Cleo gives Orphan a ring as payment, and he realizes it formerly belonged to Azali. Cleo obtained it from her father, who acquired it at the same time as the Sword of Baltanders. The ring had the same type of ward glyphs as the Sword of Baltanders. Forte gave it to the Everlasting family. After informing Cleo about Azali, Orphan departs to rescue his long-lost friend from the Tower of Fangs. He joins Childman's party and leads the vanguard in the quest for Azali. Orphan concludes that Childman's band of sorcerers is far too numerous to be legal. He also notices there is a white sorcerer among them. Orphan asks Childman whether they intend to sacrifice themselves one by one to kill Azali. Childman believes that everyone is aware of the hazards, and that even white sorcery may not be enough to win. Cleo, Vulcan, and Dorton accompany the party of sorcerers. Vulcan intends to capture the dragon and sword, and then exchange for prizes. Cleo and Vulcan, on the other hand, begin fighting after the girl instructs the dwarven twins to focus on helping Orphan. As the sun sets, the troop of sorcerers resumes their march toward Azali. He isolates himself from the group and addresses Azali. Azali miraculously answers by setting fire to the forest. The beast clears the area so that it may combat Orphan one-on-one. The dragon utilizes fire magic to defeat Orphan, demonstrating the vast disparity between their magical abilities. Azali seemed to have lost all sense of herself. As Orphan is about to be burned alive, Childman and his men arrive just in time to confront the beast as Orphan is about to be burned alive. Kamikron tends to Orphan's wounds while Childman informs the dropout that he was always supposed to lead the attack. Orphan steals Baltander's sword, preventing the Tower of Fangs from tracking Azali. Kamikron is burned alive during the conflict, and Hartia is dispatched to track out Orphan. Hartia informs Orphan that if he had fought beside them, casualties could have been reduced. Despite their desire to avoid fighting, they exchange magical blows. Their combat is cut short as Cleo, Vulcan, and Dorton come unexpectedly while being pursued by a hairy howler. Orphan saves them and informs Hartia that he will not let anyone else perish while attempting to do the right thing. Orphan returns to the battlefield and discovers a field littered with charred corpses. Childman is the only one who is still alive thanks to his tremendous magical abilities. Despite his might, Childman is completely overcome. Orphan saves him from the dragon's attack while also canceling out what would have been a fatal response against Azali. Childman, hampered by his meddling, stabs Orphan and casts a powerful spell to destroy Azali's monster form. Childman heals Orphan, while the devastated sorcerer rushes to Azali's corpse. He can hear her voice narrating the incident that changed her into the dragon. The next day, the sorcerers attempt to return the Sword of Baltanders to the Tower of Fangs. Orphan halts Childman's carriage and listens to a diatribe about how he should be punished for betraying his fellow sorcerers. However, Orphan claims Childman is very talkative, which is unusual for him. Orphan realizes Azali has switched consciousnesses with Childman via white sorcery. It began when Childman attempted to pursue Azali on his own after she first awoke. Afterward, she collected sorcerers and her younger brother to kill him. The Sword of Baltanders can alter the look of anything it comes into touch with. However, the experiment went awry and Azali was turned. She now intends to use the blade to reclaim her previous form. Orphan beats her by using the protection ring she once gave him. He explains that Childman wanted to save her as well, which is why he pursued her alone. Orphan let her live as she went away. Azali was always regarded as the Tower of Fang's strongest student. Kralansalo referred to the girl as his sister with pride. She defeats him in training and wants to keep going, but Letitia keeps them in check while Childman is away. Azali was not only a strong fighter, but also a troublesome student. Tish is in charge of keeping all the pupils in line, including Kamikron and Hartia. Kamikron summons Kralansalo and Hartia to assist him in defeating one of his rampaging androids. It appears to have activated on its own and is unable to be stopped, defeating other students along the way. Hartia attempts to eliminate it, but it deflects his spell. Kralansalo successfully binds it, allowing Tish to deliver the finishing blow. The next day, Azali brings Kralansalo to town. She reminds him that today is the day to visit the tombs of Rain and Dust. Bandits took over the town, leaving it mostly abandoned. They stroll by their former orphanage and reminisce their days as tiny children growing up there. They were both treated specially well because they were rare sorcerer children. Azali remembers arriving at the orphanage, but Kralansalo only remembers the day she departed for the Tower of Fangs. Kralansalo and Azali show up at the graveyard to pay their respects. Azali abruptly vanishes, and Kralansalo sets out to find her. He heard someone telling him to go to the orphanage, which he did, where he meets a ghost-like figure. While digging farther into the house, he discovers Azali's severed head. He is faced by a mysterious entity who attempts to eliminate them both. He casts an ultimate magic, destroying the entire house. Azali, on the other hand, was constantly controlling the entity. She's truly impressed by Kralansalo's strength. Azali reveals it was her to Kralansalo, irritating him. Annoyed, he realizes that she's behind Kamikron's android as well. Azali thanks him for being concerned about her while he is berating her. Orphan's flashback finishes as he sits in a carriage. He also reminisces Azali's betrayal and Childman's sacrifice. Cleo and Magic snuck aboard without Orphan's knowledge. Despite the fact that he is on a risky voyage, he is obligated to babysit them. Apparently, Magic and Cleo went to school together, which surprised Orphan. They are now on their way to Tafrin, the home of the Tower of Fangs. They must first get through the jungle of Finrir. Orphan, Cleo, and Magic enter Finrir Forest. They must travel all the way to their objective in Tafrim. Magic wants to unearth some sort of supernatural life form, while Cleo is simply terrified. Unbeknownst to them, a deep dragon lives deep in the forest. Orphan drives the carriage off the road to escape a ranger station. If sorcerers are sighted in the forest, the rangers will notify the Kimluk Church. Their group is formidable and nearly as important as the royal family. They are irresponsible of guarding the forest and have a history of struggle with sorcerers. The trio sets up camp at night. and Magic sets off to gather additional food. He utilizes wizardry to ward off a predator and is noticed by Fiena. She assumes he's an apprentice sorcerer and instructs him to leave the wilderness and return to his master. Fiena reveals that she is driven by the force of the forest, and that Magic and his comrades are in danger here. They were discovered and challenged by villagers who were determined to punish Magic for trespassing. He asks if they are with Kimlock, but they deny it. Fiena requests that they leave Magic alone, but it appears that the villagers are already preparing to attack Orphan as well. They attack Orphan's camp, taking Cleo by surprise. Magic tries to flee with Fiena, but is shot by McDougal. At the same moment, Orphan saves Cleo from harm and flees from the villagers. The villagers also caught Vulcan and Dorton. Orphan and Cleo arrive quickly after fleeing danger. They make their way to the main village, where Orphan realizes the residents worship the dragon faith. In this country, there are two primary religions. Kimlock Church worships the three strange sisters, while Dragon Faith worships dragons. Traditional dragons with wings, like as those found on the Tower of Feng necklaces, do not exist in this realm. The name dragon refers to beings that can employ sorcery, not human sorcerers. Sorcery was a power reserved for gods in the Age of Magic. That is, until 6 magical beast races adapted that power. These creatures would be called dragons. The Nonner, a female race of humanoid weird dragons known as Celestials, were the most intelligent of the 6. They needed to breed with humans in order to reproduce. Their descendants are today known as sorcerers. Orphan teaches the origins of sorcery to Cleo. He goes on to say that the Celestials believed humanity stole their sorcery. They persuaded non-sorcerers to worship dragons, turning them against the sorcerers. The sorcerer hunts, which lasted millennia, resulted in the extinction of all Celestials except the immortal original sorcerers known as the Aurors. Suddenly, a sorcerer's pillar explodes, revealing a deep dragon. The people gather to worship it, and Orphan instructs Cleo to return to the ranger station and alert them about the deep dragon. McDougal catches Orphan shortly after Cleo leaves. The man points a gun at Opperhin, which is forbidden by the royal family. He evades the line of fire and almost escapes, but the deep dragon attacks Orphan unexpectedly. Orphan gets assaulted by Deep Dragon and left in a catatonic state. Fiena expresses his regret for doing so in his thoughts. After healing him, she requests that he not oppose McDougal. Salua and McDougal face Orphan as he awakens in a jail. They intend to question him after realizing he is from the Tower of Fangs. Salua finds Fiena after she leaves and advises her to seem more assured about eliminating sorcerers. After that, Fiena goes to Magic and introduces herself as the priestess. She healed Magic's wounds with the strength of the Forest. Observing their laughter, McDougal reminded the girl of her responsibilities. It was him who first found her in the forest and carried her back home. Magic and Fiena head out together to find Orphan. Magic tries to blame the problem on Orphan, but Orphan can tell Magic is only trying to impress the girl. Orphan thanks Fiena for healing him and believes she has sorcery abilities beyond those of a normal human. Magic carefully disassembles Orphan's detention cell, while Orphan confronts Vulcan and Dorton for causing this disaster. Salua descends to find them and strikes Orphan. After a brief scuffle, Salua confesses that he knows Crolancelo's real name. Cleo sends rangers to the village of the Dragon Faith, but they are too afraid to act. Cleo enters while the deep dragon watches from a distance. Salua Salyud, a death instructor, exposes his glass blade and all information about Crolancelo. He is a member of the Kimlock Church's top assassination team, the Death Instructors. Cleo abruptly interrupts and knocks Salua out cold. Fiena reunites with them and requests that they all flee. She reveals that McDougal left Kimlock Church to become the village's chief. Fiena was transported there to confront the Deep Dragon. McDougal's a hero among the villagers, but Salua was dispatched to kill the deserter. McDougal utilized weapons to counter the sorcerers, but he wants a more powerful weapon. He intends to enter the center of the forest, which will almost certainly destroy the village. Fiena begs them to leave her behind as if it were her destiny, but Orphan refuses to abandon everyone to their fate. Orphan and Salua make a bargain to stop McDougal. Magic and Fiena have a meeting in her tower at the same time. Orphan has convinced her that he has the ability to save everyone. Orphan and Salua confront McDougal simultaneously, but the former threatens to sell out the latter. Orphan disables Salua and fights McDougal. McDougal misses every shot, allowing Orphan to retaliate. When the chief tries to shoot again, his gun bursts, killing him. In his final comments, McDougal explains that he quit the religion because he witnessed something horrific. Meanwhile, Cleo tries to persuade the Rangers to help, but they remain too terrified. They come across a deep dragon cub, which adds to the Rangers' fear. The villagers seek instruction from Fienna, but Orphan instructs them to choose their own path. Irate, the peasants pursue the sorcerer. Fienna realizes she needs to do something and receives a message from the deep dragon. The village must be punished, and the deep dragon warns Fienna that she must leave immediately if she wants to survive. While fleeing the peasants, Orphan encounters magic, and they are besieged until they combine their magic to teleport away. Salua tries to take Fienna and depart the village, but she is determined to save it. Orphan and magic can only advance 10 meters before getting surrounded again. Suddenly, Deep Dragon arrives to punish those who plotted to breach the Deep Dragon refuge. As a form of punishment, the beast massacres several villagers. Orphan hits it with everything he's got, but it's ineffective. Orphan tries to use the pup as leverage to make the Deep Dragon stop. However, the Deep Dragon has the ability to resuscitate the dead. He did so with Fienna, using her to spy on the villagers. The Deep Dragon discovered McDougal's plan and will now destroy the village. Operahan attempts to resist, but the Deep Dragon responds with another psychic attack. Orphan discovers that the Deep Dragon's vulnerability prevents it from using sorcery on things it cannot see. He used magic sorcery to conceal their existence by refracting light. Then Orphan injures Deep Dragon by bursting the pistol using fire magic. Deep Dragon is injured but is still capable of defeating Orphan, but chooses not to due to its pact with Childman. Despite Deep Dragon's reservations, Fienna approaches unexpectedly and stops him. He is not ready to stop, so Cleo uses the pup's powers to defeat the Deep Dragon. Following the catastrophe, Magic bids farewell to Fienna, who intends to rebuild the hamlet. The trio heads out to their original destination with another passenger on board, the Deep Dragon pup Cleo names Lecky. Orphan, Cleo, and Magic travel within a day to Tafrum, where the Tower of Fangs is located. They have no idea that in the capital, an assassin is killing black sorcerers who plan to bathe the city in blood. The council meets to discuss how 5 elders were assassinated and how they intend to strike back. Forte meets Letitia, and she learns what happened to Azalee. He informs her that he has been tasked with discovering the assassins who have been killing elders. Childman vanished after meeting with Crelancelo, and they assume he is the culprit. Letitia doubts it, but Forte appears convinced. An accident involving Cleo and Magic gets their gang into trouble with the Rangers. One of them encounters Orphan and decides not to turn him over to the church since he owes the Tower of Fangs a favor. Suddenly, the Ranger is slain, and a message is left for Orphan, inquiring who the replacement is. Shortly after, one of the assassins attacks their group with fire wizardry. Orphan and the sorcerer fight, and it turns out the assassin is too powerful. Cleo begs Lecky for assistance. The Deep Dragon pup employs magic to combat the assassin. He withstands it and nearly counterattacks, but Letitia arrives unexpectedly to interfere. The assassin reveals his face, and his appearance and spells are identical to those of young Crelancelo. Letitia and Orphan both don't grasp what's going on. Letitia brings Orphan's crew back to Tafrum. She discusses the current assassination situation in the city. Normally, elders live in the city, but they are currently all hiding there. The elders convene again, concerned about losing 5 members in 2 weeks. They suspect the Kimluk Church is behind it. Forte dispatched Hartia out to investigate Childman's situation. He recounts his discovery, concluding that Orphan is responsible. Letitia leads them to her home, where they each explain their origins in the tower to Cleo and Magic. That evening, Letitia goes to face Forte and clear Orphan's name. She expresses her joy that he has returned, but Orphan tells her he will not be staying, which upsets her. After she leaves, Orphan feels bad for not disclosing the truth about Azalee. Suddenly, the other Kralansalo emerges to confront his doppelganger once more. Letitia meets with Forte and tells that Kralansalo's lookalike is the assassin. They have little hope of beating someone with the power that Childman imagined Orphan to develop and possess. Meanwhile, Orphan demands his double's identity, but all he reveals is that he is the Razor's Edge's successor. After professing to be Orphan's potential realized, the doppelganger vanishes. Orphan suspects Azalee is using his face to get her years back. Letitia returns home the next day with guests and introduces them to Orphan. In a flashback, Letitia reminisces how she got an anonymous present on her birthday in the mailbox. As everyone was training, classmen came and asked Orphan for the evening training, which left everyone else jealous. Orphan and Letitia competed for the position of Razor's Edge successor, and as a result, Orphan won. At present, Orphan saw a message on the gift and tell Letitia that it's Kamacorn's writing. They believe the Tower of Fangs was targeted because they are weak. This is primarily owing to Childman's disappearance. Orphan admits that he fled because he couldn't become a killer, the Razor's Edge. At the same time, Cleo plays around with Dorton and Vulcan until they come upon a Dragon's Faith organization. Suddenly, the assassin appears among the group and incapacitates Cleo and Lecky. Lychia asks Orphan to explain what's going on, but magic interrupts and reveals that the assassin took Cleo. Orphan leaves to deal with it, and magic wants to come, much to Orphan's displeasure. He explains an aspect of himself that magic was unaware of and suggests that he may be the imposter. Orphan departs to encounter his other self and determine who is the real Kralansalo. After Orphan departs, Magic discovers about the Childman class. Typhus informs Magic that Childman has recruited orphans to become dark sorcerers. Kralansalo was the most powerful of them. He tried to leave the tower and attacked a sorcerer who had been sent to follow him, leaving them for dead. Typhus claims he was rejected by the apostles and compelled to cut relations with the tower as a form of repentance following this episode, but Magic does not believe him. Letitia soon joins them and chooses to assist Magic in pursuing Orphan. Orphan visits Childman's house and discovers his duplicate there. He wants Cleo and Lecky back, but the duplicate refuses. The doppelganger figures Operahan might know who he is, and they engage in a battle of sorcerer. Following an exchange, Orphan confesses that he is aware that Azalee wanted this person to fight him in order for him to confront his past. However, this person has his or her own cause for fighting. This guy wishes to keep Operahan away from Azalee, who wishes to reunite with him. The imposter Kralansalo, determined to keep Azalee for himself, participates in another exchange until they are forced to settle it through hand-to-hand battle. The disturbance prompts local officials to visit the property, but Letitia and Magic arrive in time to intervene. The double says Azalee and Childman were investigating the Killing Dolls, humanoid weaponry armed with Nana runes. They are the Celestial's heritage. He is one of these entities, which Azalee has converted into a younger, stronger Kralansalo. The doppelganger unveils the Sword of Baltanders, but Orphan defeats the imposter with Childman's special technique. While Letitia and Magic approach, Operahan checks on Cleo. However, the doppelganger survives and declares that he will win a fight on equal terms. After a fierce sorcery battle, a massive explosion ends the conflict with the doll's death. Magic and Letitia discover the killing doll dismembered, and Orphan emerges victorious, although injured. Suddenly, Azalee appears, confirming she is the one behind all of this. She understands that he is the only one who can defeat her and hopes to persuade him to join her. She told him that Childman gave him mental training to make him strong enough against white sorcerers so that he can keep Azalee in check. She thinks that Childman didn't want her to surpass him. She vanishes, leaving behind a note asking who is the true successor. Orphan passes out just as Magic and Letitia arrive. Following his encounter with his doppelganger, Orphan awakens in Letitia's home. Outside, Azalee looks to be speaking with Cleo. They have a brief talk before Azalee abruptly disappears. Dragon Faith believers are killed, interrogated for the Browning family world transcript somewhere in the city. It appears that it was lent to Childman. Orphan is unexpectedly attacked by a masked intruder hunting for the transcript. He prepared to fight back, but the infiltrator flees as Cleo and Magic approach. The following day, Orphan confesses that his clone was a killing doll and requests a return to the Tower of Fangs for more information. Letitia asks what happened, but Orphan tries to lie since the thing had a will of its own. She hands him a formal document warning him that if he steps any further away from the tower's favor, a stabber will come after him. Magic and Cleo search around Tish's residence until they are both caught and sent to the city. They learn of the sorcerer's rivalry with the Kimluk Church, as well as the Tower of Fangs design. Magic and Letitia discuss enrolling in the Tower of Fangs while on their way there. Their carriage is unexpectedly assaulted by Dragon Faith members attempting to assassinate Orphan. Orphan deals with the assassins and suspects they are enraged at what happened to the Deep Dragon. While he is interrogating one of the warriors, a third part murders them. Hydrant, the man who has been killing Dragon Faith members, invites Orphan to accompany him to the tower. Instead, Orphan assaults with sorcery, which is readily dodged. The top echelon Hydrant appears to extend a warm invitation to all. They arrive shortly afterward, where Forte meets Orphan. Vinby Stotal, his assistant, has led him to Forte. Vinby has been spying on Forte, a former member of the Ewer class, the only assassins remaining at the Tower of Fangs. Forte invites Orphan to assist him in uncovering a scheme to eliminate all members of the Childman class. Milan Tarim, also known as Hydrant, reported the incident to the Dragon Faith, blaming Letitia for her actions in self-defense, despite the fact that she coordinated them. Orphan departs shortly thereafter to address Master Ewer directly. He admits that Hydrant was the one who killed, but Ewer didn't care. Orphan vows to halt Ewer if he tries to hurt his allies. Ewer reveals that he must neutralize Childman's most powerful weapon while he is absent. After meeting with Ewer, Orphan reunites with Letitia and Magic. They depart the tower in a carriage, and Magic discloses that he has formally enrolled in the institution. As they return to town, Orphan and company discover Cleo injured after being attacked outside Letitia's home by someone costumed as a stabber. Orphan wants to pursue them, but Letitia warns he can't cause any more trouble. Instead, she sets out on her own to find out who broke into her home. Letitia enters the city at night and follows one of the assassins. Meanwhile, Orphan tends to Cleo's wounds before leaving to find Letitia. Letitia is led into a dark alleyway by the assassins, unaware that she is outnumbered. She enters a dark house and is met by Hydrant. He wanted Krelancelo to approach Letitia, but this works for them. Swain, a masked member of Ewer's class, wants to know about the transcript. Letitia is unaware of the transcript, but they insist the Childman class is. The three are fighting with sorcery, which Orphan notices in the distance. They harm her and intend to capture the girl. However, Azali appears unexpectedly and insists that Tish accompany her. Azali forces them to leave, and Orphan discovers Tish unconscious shortly afterward. She awakens the next day, convinced that Orphan is the one who saved her. Letitia reminds Orphan not to stir any problems. She does not want him to leave the tower or her again, but he remains undecided. As he walks out of Tish's residence, Azali confronts Orphan. She exposes Ewer's plan to Orphan, including how they intend to topple the tower. Azali ordered her doll to kill elders who supported the coup, but the Ewer class is targeting the surviving elders. Childman's disappearance has resulted in a power vacuum at the tower. The Ewer class intends to utilize this to seize control of the Tower of Fangs, but their biggest stumbling block is the formidable sorcerers of the Childman class. They've been targeted by the stabbers because they require something Childman had: the Browning family world transcript. According to mythology, the transcript contains hidden knowledge about the Magic King. The Browning family kept the book safe until it fell into the hands of the Dragon Faith. Childman is the last known possessor of the book, as Azali discovered while conducting research with him. The Ewer class believes that the transcripts were instrumental in Childman and his class outperforming the competition. They intend to use its knowledge in their campaign to seize the Tower of Fangs. This is why the Ewer class has been deploying Hydrant, who is now unofficially acknowledged by them, to hunt down dragon religion believers while also fighting Tish. Ewer's class plans to attack as soon as possible now that they tried to kidnap Letitia, and word will reach the upper echelon soon. They'll go after Orphan and his allies. Azali wants Orphan to stab Ewer, but Tish instructs him to do the reverse. She sent Magic the transcript, which confirms that Orphan's powers have returned to normal after fighting his double. Azali departs, while Cleo observes from a distance. Orphan discovers Magic shortly after and learns that he found the book because Azali placed it. Orphan offers to bring Magic and Cleo to the Tower of Fangs in order to finally put an end to the Ewer class. Outside the Tower of Fangs, Cleo deduces that their problem includes fighting Ewer's class before they arrive to kill everyone for the transcript. Orphan leads Magic and Cleo inside the tower, explaining that the Ewer class has most likely not departed yet. They climb the tower to find the sorcerers, but Orphan falls into the Ewer class's trap. Hydrant and Swain ambush Orphan, but Lecky saves him from their onslaught. Hydrant says that he isn't concerned about Ewer's goals and only wants to murder Orphan. Hydrant, Milan Tarim, was scarred in the royal capital 5 years ago. He was assigned to prevent Childman's best student from leaving the Tower of Fangs to join the Apostles. He told Kier Lancelo that he couldn't leave because he was instructed to execute Azali if she stepped out of line. This prompted Orphan to lash out, burning Hydrant's face. Orphan and Milan face off, determined to settle their score. Meanwhile, Vinby finds Cleo and Lecky, while Swain confronts Magic. Swain is significantly stronger than Magic, but he manages to evade death by employing spatial sorcery, which surprises Swain. However, he has overdone his skills. Before he is finished, Forte arrives to save Magic and forces Swain to flee. Forte reveals that Magic will soon be his student. Orphan easily defeats Milan using the close-quarters hand-to-hand combat techniques he learned from Childman. After knocking down Vinby, Lecky teleports Cleo and herself away from danger. Milan is also vanquished, and they prepare to end with Ewer Curlin. Orphan arrives in Ewer's classroom to confront the master, but Ewer thinks it's too late. Swain was able to obtain the transcript from Magic. However, Orphan replaced the book for Cleo's diary. Ewer, enraged, orders his stabbers to execute Orphan. Forte and Magic arrive shortly after, officially arresting the Ewer class for assaulting Letitia and murdering Dragon Faith followers. Ewer Curlin refuses Forte, but Azali appears to serve as a deterrent. Ewer and his stabbers assault, but Orphan defeats them with Master Childman's assassination technique. Azali erases the assassin's memories of her, and they are immediately apprehended. Later, Orphan discovers that Forte had conspired with Azali to use Orphan. This was the only way they could halt the Ewer class. Azali displays the transcript, claiming that the book contains no wizardry. It is a chronicle of the world's evolution and its impending demise. If Orphan wants to find out more, he must find Azali in Kimlock. A group of people get ready to travel to the Kamasunda Theater under the leadership of Mad Shin. Although the place is quite dangerous, no one is ready to back off from the challenge. As they reach the church, they are attacked by a group of monsters. Some of the crew got injured with Mad Shin leading the charge against these monsters. On the other hand, Orphan and his group is fighting over who will get the last piece of meat. As they fight, they heard a voice which Orphan suggested to ignore, as for the last 3 months since they left their home, they have been facing trouble non-stop. All he wants now is peace, and the piece of meat. As he is babbling all this, Cleo ate the meat. They heard the voice again, but Orphan is not ready to help. Cleo suggested that they might get food in return of the help, which led Orphan to run for the person's help. Following the voice, they reached the church where Madchin's crew is fighting. Orphan helped them, but it is too late as all of them are already dead. Before dying, a man asked Orphan to save their master, who is fighting inside the building. Surrounded by the monsters, Orphan decided to enter the building, leaving all the creatures outside. Inside, they found the statue of Swedenborg's angel and devil. Dragon species stole the secrets of magic from God, but Swedenborga, the supreme ruler of all creation's secret is not stolen. He tried to make himself the only god and is called the God's Lair Demon King. Kimluck considers him taboo. As they enter a room, they found people killed on the floor. Orphan realized that there is sorcery of defense used in the room, which means that it is a part of Norner's ruins. It is bad as Norner's ruins has guardians to eliminate any intruders. Orphan thinks that the Continental Sorcerers Association might have concealed the place and taken celestial artifacts from there to research, just like the Tower Fangs did with Fort Basilatris years back, to find Istersaiva's grave there. Just then a man is thrown into the room by the monster. As he is going to attack, Madchen stabbed the monster from behind. The monster stood up and ran with carrying the man after he saw Orphan, a sorcerer, standing above. Everyone followed him into a closed room. Madchen is able to strike again, but the monster vanished. The door behind the man opened, and he fell into it. Orphan asked Madchen not to go inside, but she is not ready to listen as she don't want to go back empty-handed. Madchen makes a deal with Orphan that she will be their guide to Kimluck and help them pass the inspection, but in return wants them to follow her down. Orphan agreed, and they went down using a rope. As they reached down, Orphan asked Madchen about the theater. She replied that theater was built 200 years ago to show a famous play named Demon King. The king was invited, and after he watched the play he ordered for the theater to be torn down. As everyone joined, they went ahead towards the underground theater. While walking, Cleo and Magic suddenly stopped with their eyes wide open. Orphan attacked ahead of them, which broke the mental manipulation. As they continued walking down, a doll appeared which they easily defeated with their teamwork. The doll held onto Cleo's legs, and before Orphan can do anything, used special magic on her. Orphan stabbed a knife behind the doll's head, but it transferred with Magic and Madchen using WYRD glyphs. A number of dolls appeared telling Orphan that the Demon King will decide if he is worthy. Moving forward, Orphan entered a room where Magic was sitting on the stairs, mentally manipulated by the dolls. Magic! Several dolls appeared and told Orphan that the boy is too inexperienced to know the truth. Carrying Magic, Orphan started fighting the dolls alone, but it is of no use as they keep on coming one after another. A doll appeared with frozen Madchen and asked Orphan to stop as he will not be tested by the Demon King. Just then Cleo appeared from above and struck the doll with her doll, releasing Madchen in the process. Cleo! Magic wakes up as well as they got surrounded by dolls. Orphan used Childman's secret sorcery to defeat all the dolls at once. A throne appeared with a doll sitting on it claiming to be Swedenborga. He must follow the orders given by Sister Istersaiva. He told Orphan that the place is built to warn sorcerers and showed him the Demon King's play. In the play, we see Swedenborga talking with the Lady of Fate, who asked him for his devil and angel. She wants to destroy all the source of sorcery that warped the world and regain the balance of the world that is being lost. As the play ended, the building started falling apart. As Orphan woke up, he found a note from Azali which read, "Next time. At least be able to protect yourself." Next morning, Orphan asked Madchen if she is from Kimluck, as she knew about the theater which is not on the map. The church was supposed to be torn apart, but the church concealed it and left it there. She is there to investigate on it. She told him that she heard about him from Salua. She is a death instructor, but she worshipped the Weird Sisters. She became a death instructor so that she can stay in Kimlock. Instructor Quo visits Pope Ragnarok to report to him that Child Man who was missing from the Tower of Fangs is dead. He thinks it's the perfect opportunity to eradicate sorcerers, but the Pope disagreed, saying that they will eventually die. Quo also reported that there is a traitor in the church, which the Pope didn't give much attention. While they were getting ready with the supplies to leave for Kimlock, Orphan agreed to give Magic some combat training. While training his Magic was complaining to Orphan for being harsh, Orphan told Magic that when on the battlefield, it's a matter of life and death, so Magic should take this seriously. Cleo came to summon Orphan as the old man is looking to talk to him. The old man asked Machin if she is planning to defeat Quo with the help of Orphan. Machin replied that it's one of her plan. The old man's name is Saladin, one who trained Salua. 10 years ago, Quo alongside Saladin fought Childman, so Machin believes that Orphan won't be enough to defeat him. Quo and Carlotta are together now and considered the most powerful death instructors. The leaders of the church stay within the holy city and use the donations from their followers for their own benefits, leading to everyone outside holy city being poor. Machin aims to tell this to the Pope in order to change the situation. Orphan enters addressing Saladin as a death instructor. Saladin tell him that he is no longer a death instructor, as he is casted out, saying that he abandoned his holy duties. Saladin asked him not to go to Kimlock, but he disagreed, saying he understands the risk, but he will still go. He believes that one should be ready to fight against death all the times. At the church in the holy city, head instructor Salyud is giving a sermon to the devotees present there. A man came with a request for Salyud's younger brother Salua. He wants him to teach his son how to use a sword, as he is the best swordsman. Salyud replied that he hasn't seen his brother for long, since he is busy. Just then we see Salua beaten and tied with chains in a prison. Azali used her mental projection to sneak around the cathedral, but she couldn't get past the defense. The next day, Orphan and group finally reached the outer part of city after traveling for 3 days. While riding the carriage, Machin asked why Griffin didn't bring Cleo and Magic with him, to which he replied that if there is a slightest chance that she will betray him, then it's best to keep them away. Machin explained to him that there are 6 Death Instructor who they have to fight. Death Instructor fight off any sorcerer spies who infiltrate Kimlock. They also kill the heretic instructors and infiltrate Tafram or royal capital, as well as investigate ruins. Machin explained how Saladin retired 10 years ago after fighting a single black sorcerer who infiltrated Kimlock, that is Childman. Quo managed to fight off Childman and become the leader of Death Instructor. They reached the entrance of the city, where Machin explained to the guards that she will once they deliver the goods to the wall. The Wall of Learning separates the holy city from outer world, and only registered people can enter and leave it. Their carriage got surrounded by people who wish to enter the holy city, as they believe that even if destruction comes, those inside the holy city will be saved. A man tried to drag Orphan down, and hearing his voice, Cleo came out of the box. She and Magic were hiding inside the box for days, living off of chocolates. She used Lecky's powers against the people, but Orphan is able to deflect it in time, causing a blast which is noticed by Quo inside the church. Quo and Carlotta are talking about the explosion earlier. Quo sent out Name only to inspect the situation, as they think that there might be a sorcerer outside the wall. Quo left, asking Carlotta to do some investigation with the help of her army. Orphan woke up in Laniot's house. The man who dragged him out of the carriage. Orphan is furious of everyone and is not ready to listen, but Cleo told him that Laniot is the one who saved them after the explosion. Orphan asked the reason for saving them, to which he replied that he is also a sorcerer. He tried to save Machin as well, but she is gone before they knew it. All of them exchanged names and the reason to visit Kimlock. The twins notify Azali about the explosion and how it led to the city being covered by guards. Azali started reading the world transcript written by Demon King Swedenborga. It read that long ago dragon prospered in the continent of giants. The 6 dragon races each sent out their wisest, forming the Wise Council. By discovering the rules that made up this world, the Yggdrasil system, they were able to obtain sorcery and become immortal. Because of this, the world became warped and the embodiment of God appeared. The god attacked the dragons and in an instant the continent was gone. The dragons fled to the Kiselhima continent, and with the Airmaker barrier that the founding members created thwarted the invasion into the goddesses' continent. But there was a crack in the barrier, and the goddesses sent in Basilatris and other monsters. And then one of the goddess of fate, Velzandi, had descended. But at the battle, one of the founding member, Oriole, successfully pushed her out of the barrier. Oriole was able to seal the crack in the barrier in exchange for her life. Azali was able to read till this part. Forte reported to Harris about the incident concerning Orphan and Azali and how she used white sorcery to switch with Childman, resulting in his death. It started raining in Kimluck. Orphan asked Laniot if there is a way to reach the center of Kimluck, as isn't safe with guards roaming around. Laniot agrees to guide them to the center. As only merchants who bring food and goods are allowed to enter the walls, they are also allowed at a designated time. Orphan and others left for the center with Laniot leading them to a bar where he asked Jack to use the back room. Some people were not ready to let them go, so Orphan has to pin them down to prove that he is not a sorcerer, but a mere bodyguard of Mad Shin. Jack agrees to show them the back room where there is a dry well leading to the cathedral. Some guards came in the bar looking for them as Orphan and company quickly went down the well. With Laniot leading the charge, Orphan and the rest started following him. Before leaving, Jack told Orphan to not let his guard down as he do not trust Laniot. While walking, Laniot told them that the debris of the underground passage fill with water quite often. If any part is to crumble, then they will experience flash flood. Laniot acted to fall down, triggering a chain reaction in the process. Suddenly, water started pouring in and drove all of them away with its pressure.
何か聞こえないか？
何か聞こえるの？私耳はいい方なんだけど。え？うわっ！何？
気づいてねえわけじゃねえんだ。
困りましたね。
逃げ道は
ありません。
Driven apart, Orphan is faced with Laniot, who finally show his true color. Orphan noticed as in order to use sorcery, a sorcerer has to compose a spell and then release it, which only other sorcerers can notice. Orphan composed a threatening spell against Laniot when they first met, but he didn't notice, meaning that he isn't a sorcerer. More guards came after, eliminating everyone from the bar. Laniot's real name is Name Only, and he is a death instructor. The fight between them started where Orphan is able to kick everyone and run away. On the other side, Magic is looking for Orphan, carrying unconscious Cleo with him. Name Only caught up to Orphan and they started fighting again. Name Only is able to dodge Orphan's attack and injure his hand from behind. Name Only told Orphan that Magic and Cleo is being surrounded by guards who won't hesitate to kill even a child. Quo is informed about the fight between Name Only and a sorcerer in the underground. Name Only attacked Orphan again and is able to land few blows thanks to his incredible speed. Orphan realized that Name Only has taken drugs to enhance his physical abilities. Even if they are dangerous, he is determined to save Kimluck from sorcerers infiltrating it. Name Only is still 17, but due to side effects of drugs have aged quite a bit. Orphan is finally able to land a blow, but Name Only pinned him down using a knife. Orphan attacked his ribs, but he still caught Orphan by his throat. On the other hand, Magic and Cleo are also surrounded by guards. Magic is finally able to use sorcery in front of the guards. Name Only is gravely bleeding, but still is babbling about God being unfair with him and giving final audience to others. Orphan, with all his strength, punched Name Only right through his stomach. Even before dying, Name Only kept talking about how Orphan must be destroyed, otherwise it wouldn't be fair to him, as Orphan killed him. Quo visits Pope, where he asked him if he is armed. Quo replied positively, telling him about the intrusion by a sorcerer. Pope told him that the network detected that a glass sword has been shattered. Understand how high means that the sorcerer must have escaped. Magic appeared carrying Cleo on his back to where Orphan is. Orphan kept blaming himself for killing the man he shouldn't have, as he is just a human. Magic tried to calm him, but Orphan pushed him away instead. Azali also arrived in search of the answers for her queries, which include the motive of Classman for training all of them and training Orphan against her. What was Childman trying to do, and what does Sister Saiva wanted to say in the book? Back to Orphan. He apologized for hitting Magic. Magic started yelling at him for not protecting them as his master, and also told him to cool off and heal the injuries of Cleo as she isn't moving. Orphan is acting weird as he is not able to remember who everyone is. He can't remember Magic and Cleo's name, and as he tried to remember, he fainted. He started having flashbacks of the things happened with him till now. He woke after being dragged by Magic, and as he woke up, he is able to remember everyone's name. Magic already healed Orphan. Orphan is now back to his old self, all confident and annoying. Orphan found a map, and with its help realized the path to exit. He remembered Childman's class where he fought the types of black sorcery. There are mainly 3 types of black sorcery, which include matter destruction, wave neutralization, and meaning dissolution. Celestial ruins should last around 1,000 years, and that's why Orphan thinks that the underground tunnel is not one. As they were talking, Cleo went missing. Outside, we see Madchen entering Carlotta's room and pointing her swords towards her. Madchen asked her the whereabouts of Salua, but Carlotta instead hurt her hand using a knife with her feet. Hearing all the noise, the guards came outside, due to which Madchen has to run. Orphan found some footprints near the place where Cleo was lying before. Following her footsteps, she found her walking inside a tunnel. Orphan rushed to her only to find that she is being mentally controlled by Lecky. Following Lecky, they reached an area filled with dead bodies. Using spatial magic, Cleo and Lecky disappeared. They started climbing the wall. Orphan tried to use sorcery, but is not able to do so. Manic used sorcery to fly up the hole, but fell midway. Orphan caught him in time and pulled him up. Magic isn't able to move as using huge spell make him feel fatigued. As they were talking, they heard a girl scream. Orphan orders Magic not to use sorcery again until he is able to control it. As they followed the voice, they found Cleo. She pointed towards someone who is none other than Salua, beaten up badly by the guards. A pair of guards came, and Orphan tried to attack them with his sorcery, but he is again not able to use it. Orphan woke up in guard post as Magic is able to subdue the guards. Orphan told them that he is not able to use his sorcery. A sorcerer unable to use sorcery never happens, as sorcerers are born with mana, and it never runs out. They use spells to control that. Orphan is unable to weave spells, making him a normal human. Salua suggested that they should head back to the city and hide in his big brother place, which will buy them half a day. While walking, Salua told them about the infrastructure of the cathedral. Orphan suddenly started having flashbacks of the time when he killed Name Only and fainted. In a flashback we see long ago, a hundred years after human appeared in the land of Kiselhima, Childman was born as the human sorcerer named Alfred Meitz. Saiva asked him to serve as the mediator between the sanctuary and humans, so he became the lord of the area closest to sanctuary that human inhabited. After he served the leaders of both dragons and humans, he was called XX, which means traitor. But then the mother of sorcerers, Nornir, had started to hunt sorcerers. They made killing dolls build to fight sorcerers. Tafram, the city of sorcerers, was turned to ash. In order for Celestial to survive, Saiva suggested to mix Celestials and humans. She met with criticism and driven out of sanctuary. Alfred enters an area where Sister Saiva was present. She asked him if she has done a sin by suggesting to mix human and celestial, because they believe that she has driven humans to also suffer. Alfred agreed, saying that creating them was a sin, as if there were no human sorcerers then there would not be any war. Alfred told her that they used to worship them, but now they have betrayed them as they killed human sorcerers. Saiva told him that they also love them, and their motive was always to stop destruction. Saiva told him everything, and used her ultimate final sorcery to transport Alfred into future. She taught him everything she knew and him the strongest. She asked him to nurture soldiers who are equal to the sanctuary, as it is the only was to save the sorcerers from destruction. Using this powerful spell led Saiva to perish. Alfred time traveled in the future to find the successor and named himself Childman, as he is Saiva's child sent forth to stop war. Orphan finally woke up in sweat as they moved forward. They climbed up to the lowest level of cathedral. Childman infiltrated the hall of the great poet that is up top 10 years ago. As they reached the hall of the great poet, they found guards waiting alongside Quo. Before Salua could complete, Quo pushed him into the wall. Quo repeated Salua's words from before that said that he and Machen are going to kill Quo, and asked the Pope to spread the doctrine throughout the continent. Salua told him about Orphan being Childman's student, to which Quo replied that he already know that, and that's the reason why he is there. As guard got ready to attack, Salua told Orphan to pretend to use sorcery as guards are scared of sorcery, but Cleo shouted out that Orphan is not able to use sorcery. As Magic is going to use sorcery, he is attacked by Quo. Quo has Ifrit the demon's armor, which is not affected by sorcery. As guards are coming forward and Magic is not waking up, Orphan gathered courage and went ahead to fight the guards. As he defeated all the guards, he came across Azali dressed as a guard. Guards woke up again, but were immediately taken care of by Azali. On the other hand, Quo also defeated Salua. In order to heal Magic, Azali needs 5 minutes, so Orphan decided to stall Quo until then. Salua told Orphan that Quo won't be able to use powerful weapons once the door of the Hall of Great Poet opens. Cleo attacked Quo using Lecky and in the meantime tried to open the gate but is stopped in her tracks by Quo. Quo started using the Sword of Mood, which became quite a problem for Orphan, who is getting tired dodging the attack. Orphan expressed that Quo sounds quite like Name, only to which he agreed, saying of course he would, his name is his son. Orphan started shivering thinking about how he killed Name. Just then Azali attacked Quo. She told him that she is here because she isn't able to hear Childman's last wish and believes that she will be able to hear those here. Azali attacked Quo and in the process is able to break open the door to the Hall of the Great Poet. Outside, Carlotta got orders from the Pope to execute any traitor. Pope asked Anastasia to come forward, and as she does he started choking her, saying she is pretending to not see anything. As the gate is crushed, we see a hand holding Istersaiva in the air from her neck. As Orphan went closer to look, Quo shot him in his belly as he fell right through the door into the water. Azali tried to attack Quo, but he is able to dodge it with his armor. Azali gave Cleo a small chest using which Cleo, Magic, and Salua were able to transport out of that place. Ignoring Quo, Azali went straight to save Orphan. Instructor Lapointe and Carlotta join him, and they discuss about the intruders. Quo warns Lapointe that Salua, his brother, might come to him for his help as they are family. Lapointe assures Quo about this as he left. Carlotta informs Quo that the Pope wants to meet him. Cleo and the others are transported to a room where they met the twin brothers. As Magic woke up, Salua took them to his brother's place. As they enter the mansion, Lapointe is already waiting for them with sword in his hand. Magic told him that Orphan is Tattle inside the cathedral and they want to save him. Lapointe realized that Quo lied to him that the sorcerers have already escaped. On the other hand, whole drowning Orphan reached a place where he is able to hear the goddess. She told him about the history that happened 300 years ago. She asked him about the whereabouts of her familiar with whom she share her conscience. Orphan is able to see what happened 200 years ago when Istersaiva used sorcery to help Childman travel through time. Salua bring others to his room where they found Machen. There is an underground passage from his room that everyone enters. Carlotta visits their house and is welcomed by Lapointe. Lapointe is not ready to hand over his brother until he knows what's going on. Before he could unshed his sword, Carlotta pierced his skull through her sword. Salua bring others to a room filled with weapons as it's dangerous to enter the cathedral unarmed. Salua gives a sword to Cleo to give to Orphan as he is the one who can use it properly. Salua tried to stop Magic from coming, but he is not ready to listen. Salua asked Magic to defeat him if he wants to come with him. Before they could talk further, Carlotta threw Lapointe through the hole, which left everyone shocked. Quo visits the Pope and find Anastasia dead. Pope told him that she saw her face, but Quo denied, saying that she can't see anything. Pope tried to control Quo's mind, but is blocked by his shield. Quo drew his glass sword against the Pope and tried to hit him with it, but his sword shattered. Quo used another sword to attack the Pope, and as the robe he is wearing reared apart, we see a doll standing there. Quo is angered by the fact that he fooled everyone in the holy city. The doll informs Quo that he is the founding sorcerer of humans, Airmaker. He became a doll because of his chance encounter with the goddess of fate. On the other hand, Azali is finally able to save the drowning Orphan. She brought him out of the water and started healing him.